While we're waiting, I push my boulder up a hill, and I'm debating whether I'd get further off by standing still. So while you're waiting for acknowledgement from anyone, some needed more than you and didn't get enough when they were young. While we're waiting, I take my time, I take yours too. For all the words I speak, I never feel as though I'm getting through. While we're waiting for a lesson about less is more, I am guessing it's calamity and danger you adore. And what for? One window closing can still open doors. I'm gonna sit right down and share myself with you. I'm gonna show you who I am, I really am. I'm gonna listen to my face is blue. I'm gonna give you all I While we're waiting, tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna wait right here, stand in line with you. While we're waiting, I glance around, there's lots to see. I take it all in as I wonder what's in front of me. As future turns to history, I figure out how much more I can be.
Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Tuesday night. It's October 20th. It's the year 2020 still. I'm Dave J, songwriter, performer, storyteller, characters from New York City. Welcome to Dave J Tuesday. How are you? Who are you? Where are you? What are you doing? Let me know all of that and more in the commenter section below, probably to your left. Perhaps it's in the center. I don't know. It's wherever you keep it. I didn't put it there. You put it there. I don't know. Neither of us put it there, but let's put it there. Virtual shake. Okay, we can't really do it. We can't really touch because Corona. But anyway, let's continue on. We've just begun another new show. I'm very excited. It's been a crazy week so far. I'll tell you a little more about it a little further along in the show. It's a pleasure to be back on the broadcast airwaves with you, and you, and you, and you, and that guy, we'll see about him. All right. Well, let's see. I usually like to check in. And when I begin a show, let you know how I'm feeling, and perhaps if you'll let me know how you're feeling, you know I've already alluded to that. But Beetle Mike wrote me shortly before the show and said, unfortunately, he cannot be here tonight, but he wanted to send his best to you guys, and he said he'll be watching the rerun of the broadcast, so let's make it a good one, huh? Okay. I'm feeling a little tired, but in a good way, because I've been working on a new project. It's not my project. It's a good buddy of mine named Evan. And Evan is an extremely talented fella, and he does many things. Like myself, he has many interests, varied interests in the creative arts and beyond. And he's making a new film, and he's cast me in a lead role. I'll be telling you more about that in just a bit. But we started shooting yesterday, and it's been a lot of fun. We had a full day shoot today. But where we last left off was during the last 4 episodes. We talked all about my internship at Saturday Night Live, NBC's Saturday Night, as it used to be called back in the day, as you kids say. And there are so many stories to tell that I realized upon rewatching the last broadcast that I left out yet a few other little tidbits about that, and the other thing that I covered, which was Spider-Man, my demo and my recording of the Spider-Man theme, and I left out a little further tidbittery. Ooh, I just got a new word I just made up. I like it. Should we make it the word of the day? Why not?
Word of the day.
So with that in mind, we're going to reignite a segment that we like to call Dave J. Tuesday Postscript. So in this postscript, we're going to be starting with a story that I left out about this man, Dennis Miller, the Weekend Update anchor from Saturday Night Live, and a really, really nice guy. As I told you, caught your head in a little bit of the shot there. But it's all right, because it's live. It's exciting. We never know what's going to happen. You know, there could be whirlwinds. There could be wives crawling through the shot. It's wonderful, and we don't know what's going to happen next. Keeps it exciting for everybody. Dennis Miller, as I did tell you last week, was a superb individual. Where I had been told not to speak with the staff, he was the first to greet me. A couple of stories come to mind I wanted to share with you. One story actually was told by Dana Carvey about Dennis Miller the very first day I was there on my internship in January of 1989. And I was just sitting around and I heard him telling someone this story. And it was great because Dana Carvey does an impression of everyone that he's, like, you know, telling the story, who's in the story. And he's telling the story about how Robin Williams was renowned for stealing nightclub comics material. You know, he just pick up material and he'd make it his own and so forth, which is, you know, like, you know, a sin basically in comedy. You know, comedians they have a, you know, rightly so, have a terrible cross to bear about these things. Is that the right expression? I think it is. We're going to go with it because we've got plenty to get to. He's telling this story and he's saying Robin Williams was the host of SNL, and he does the opening monologue, and whether advertently or inadvertently, he steals a Dennis Miller stand-up joke, and it had something to do with the deficit, you know, at that time. And the punchline had something to do with the number of zeros at the end of the, you know, because a huge deficit, many zeros in the figure. And he gets off stage, and he was doing an impression of Robin Williams, probably doing this thing and all that. Everyone who does an impression of Robin Williams does this laugh meter thing. Anyway, except their hair is not, their arm couldn't possibly have been as gibbony. Is that a word? Gibbony. So much hair on that Robin. I saw Robin Williams in a Comp USA in Manhattan on 8th Avenue. Used to be on 8th Avenue and like 49th thereabouts. He was there with his sons, and he was just there smirking and being very gibbony. Not Debbie Gibbony. Oh, that's Debbie Gibson. Debbie Gibson-y. He has nothing in common with Debbie Gibson as far as I know. I blather and I digress. Wait a second. I'm the blather and digress king. But continuing on, he gets off stage, Robin Williams does, and Dennis Miller saunters up to him, as he was wont to do, and he said, "Hey, Robin, it was 17 zeros." Okay, in any case, now, story about Dennis Miller and myself interacting. Okay, well, I got to give you a little backstory. So I went to Ithaca College, and I was on a sketch comedy show there, and on the show there was just a variety of individuals of all sorts of humor and all sorts of personalities, and there were little cliques forming on it, just like in high school. And but it was a great experience overall. And what happened was there was a kid who everyone really generally liked a lot. He was a friend of a lot of the people on the show, and as it turns out, he always wore this jacket, you know. It was an overcoat, It was like one of those trench coat overcoat types of coats. And it was always very wrinkled and frumpy. Now the thing is, it became a term of endearment, frumpy. And the thing is also, I never heard the word frumpy before. One of the fellas on the show who was good friends with this guy with the frumpy coat would always say, hey, nice frumpy coat, you know. And the way he would say it, I began to think frumpy was a good thing. Now, that's how the SATs work. If you associate a word with this other word, and it's an association thing. So, because I had never heard the word frumpy before, I started to associate the word frumpy with cool. So now, fast forward, I'm on Saturday Night Live as an intern. I'm not supposed to talk to these cast members or these writers, but God darn it, can I say that, God? Can I say darn it? With that? Well, I haven't been smite down yet. I'm just kidding. Okay, I'm all right. Where were we? Oh yes, Dennis Miller. So he was always so nice to me that here I am at the main elevator bank one night, and we're both getting on the elevator at the same time. Now, I want to have something nice to say to Dennis Miller, because for goodness sakes, he's been so nice to me. So he's wearing this beautiful white overcoat, you know, trench coat style overcoat. So, thinking quickly, I said, hey, cool, Dennis, cool frumpy coat, man. Added man to make it sound cooler, you know, and he was behind me, so I said it as we got on the elevator. He got on before me. Now I'm facing front, and I just hear him say, under his breath, frumpy? Paid $1,000 for this coat. All right, I've now used the bump, I think 3 times. 3 in comedy. That's the number in comedy. Little comedy rule tidbit for you. Tidbittery. It's a bit of tidbittery. Haha, I love it. It's a buttery tidbittery. Now I'm getting really into the wordplay. Okay, lastly about Dennis Miller. The very following semester for me at Ithaca College, Dennis was touring colleges doing some stand-up. And where was he performing? Not Ithaca College, but on the other hill in the town of Ithaca, Cornell University. That's right. And a friend from the show, Marnie, she won tickets to the concert. She won 2 tickets from the radio station. She gave me a call and said, hey, Dave, I won these tickets. Do you want to go to the show? And I said, oh, my God, I'd love to. Thank you. And she said, yeah, listen, about that. Do you think you can get us backstage to meet Dennis? Because she knew I'd had the internship. I said, oh, now I see. Now I see what's afoot. Yes, there's a little Sherlock Holmes I'm working in. So I said, sure, of course. So I knew that Cornell University had a hotel school, right? A very popular hotel school. So I knew, too, that they had a hotel right there that they ran as part of the schooling, I suppose. There's a tuition's worth. I think I'll learn to manage a motel or a hotel, you know. Other hotels without an H, without an M, but maybe something. We're friends with a family named the Cotels. Does Cotel, is that Jewish for, or Eastern European? Cotel, I'm assuming it's an Eastern European name. Is that Eastern European for some type of place to stay that you pay money for overnight, and it has bed bugs about a third of the time? But I'm bummed. I can't do it again. I've already done it 3 times, maybe even 4. I go overstay my limit sometimes. Anyway, let me continue on. Sure enough, I called the hotel at Cornell University, and I asked for Dennis Miller, and sure enough, they put it through to his room, and he answers the phone with that unmistakable voice, right? And I just say, hey, listen, I don't know if you remember who I am from the previous, earlier this year, I was the intern. Oh, sure, Dave. Hey, listen, I'm going to be coming with a friend of mine to your show tonight, and would it be cool if we said hello after the show? He said, sure, man, just hang out where you are in your seats after the show. I'm going to come out after everybody leaves. And sure enough, he came out. He's totally down to earth. What a fantastic fella. Couldn't be a nicer guy. And introduced him to Marnie. Marnie was, I think, very pleased about the overall thing. And you know what? I think that was the only time I ever hung out with Marnie. But that was the only time I ever had someone or something to offer her, I suppose. But anyway, no, I'm not taking a swipe at you, Marnie. You're a fine individual. All right, so that's the postscript part that having to do with Saturday Night Live. The other thing I had done last week was shared with you a bunch of stuff, as I had aforementionedly said. Saturday Night Live, rather, Spider-Man. That's it, Spidey. I played all the different versions of the Spider-Man theme, and what I forgot to share is Charles from Mother West, the indie record label with whom I released the Spider-Man theme that we played you, suggested, hey Dave, why don't we strike on the popularity we've had on Apple Music and Spotify with the Spider-Man theme? Why don't you write a song called The Ballad of Peter Parker or something like that? Well, I did do such a thing. That is totally up my alley. You give me an assignment, as my friend Tone Tyne had just mentioned to me recently. You give Dave an assignment, he'll do it, and so that's just what I did. Now the thing is, we weren't too pleased with the verses. They didn't really. So all I did was, he was happy with the chorus, and I admit it was a really strong chorus, I think. And so what I'd like to share with you, or for you now, if I can find it on the panel. Oh, here it is. The chorus of The Ballad of Peter Parker, the little demo I made at home. And I spiced it up, as I had before, with a little Spidey footage. Check it out.
The Ballad of Peter Parker is a story to behold. For generations to come, his story will be told. The Ballad of Peter Parker is a story to behold. For generations to come, his story will be told.
The Ballad of Peter Parker. Hey, okay. All right, let's move along with the show, because now is the time in the show where we like to tease you a little bit. Goochie goo. Actually, we like to tease Tuesdays. Hey, Tuesday. Wednesday has a little something up on you, you think? Okay. What have I done to the show with my tomfoolery? Check it out. Here's the Tuesday teaser.
Tuesday teaser. Tuesday teaser. Tuesday teaser. Tuesday teaser. Tuesday teaser.
Welcome, Terry Z. I'm glad you could make it. I'm glad you brought the lampshade. We've got plenty of lamps later in the show to try out, and we needed some extra shade. So thanks a lot for coming along with said lampshade. Okay, well, the Tuesday teaser, I had mentioned at the beginning of the show that I've been very busy this week with a project for which my friend Evan set up, and I'm going to tell you a little more about that in just a moment. But first, I want to tell you a little more, as I said I would, tease an upcoming Dave J. Tuesday. And I know it's been asked of me a number of times, who is this fella they call Bupkis? Well, you're going to find out real soon. Here's that graphic one more time. You say to me, Dave, who is Bupkis? Well, sit tight. Next week, you will find out. But the thing about next week that makes it a little tricky is that I am working on a film project written and directed now by my friend, and produced by my friend Evan Seplow. I've worked with Evan on many projects, from my 1-minute autobiographies, which you may have seen, to the actual bios about me on my website, davej.com. That's DAVEJAY.com. Check it out. Sign up on the email list for my Dave J. Tuesday email newsletter vlog, video log, whatever you call it. It lately has been the replays of these episodes. But in any case, so Evan told me a couple of years back that he was had this idea for a film. It's a buddy zombie comedy, and he had a lead role in mind for me, and kind of what he felt would be kind of like I'd be a ringer for, right up my alley. And it's called, the working title is called Trumpocalypse. And he'd hoped to get it done sooner because, before the election, he'd hoped to release it by now, but we've actually just begun shooting, as I said. and I'm Bernie in it, not Sanders. Just a coincidence that the character's named Bernie, and he's just this, wisecracking character, and there's a zombie apocalypse that starts to happen, and Trump reacts, and he builds a wall, and there's a whole thing, right? And they even got an actor to play Trump, and another actor, I believe, to play Bill Clinton. I think it's Bill Clinton. Maybe it's Hillary. I think it's Bill, but I'm not positive. In any case, so next Monday night, we're doing an overnight shoot. And what that means is we start at 9 at night and we finish at 5 in the morning or so. And so that's going to lead into Tuesday morning. Probably throwing my sleep cycle way off, but that's the life of an actor, And so who knows what shape I'll be in next Tuesday night. But we're going to try to present for you next Tuesday night who Bupkis is, or at least who he is up to this point, or that point, as we arrive into next Tuesday. But stay tuned for that and much, much more. But for now, it's time to get to the meat and potatoes of the show, the Tuesday Tale. For this week's Tuesday Tale, I want to tell you all about what I call my own genre of music. And of course, my own genre of music is called, as you probably know, BLAMMO pop music. BLAMMO pop music, you say, Dave, what is this nonsense word you're telling me about? And don't worry, Terry and Marcello, welcome, Marcello Anzalone. Speaking of music, couldn't have been a better time for you to show up, my friend. I'll be getting to your comments in just a bit, but we're going to get into the meat and potatoes first, if you don't mind. As a matter of fact, I wonder if Marcello may have played one of these songs I'm about to present to you. First, let me tell you a little about why we call it BLAMMO pop music. You see, back in the day, I used to pass the doochie on the left-hand side, as we used to say. No, I used to smoke pot. That's really what I'm trying to say. I used to smoke it religiously, unfortunately, and did that for many, many years. No longer, not for many years have I partaken. But back in those days, what I used to do is I was living in my parents' house. I was commuting to New York City and working either a temp job, then a full-time job. And what I would do on the way from the job back to the Port Authority bus terminal is I'd hide out, usually around that church. Depending on where I was working, there was this main church. You know the one, the big one on 5th Avenue there. They'd have these little side outdoor sort of catacombs and things, and you'd just go back there and smoke your pot. And then I'd head to the Port Authority. One particular evening, I was sitting there, and I'd always pull out a notebook, and I'd write little ideas, write lyrics, draw a pic, whatever it was. Or I'd listen to some music that I loved. And this particular night, I said to myself, goodness gracious, I am so high, I am totally jablammied. I had made up a word. As you folks know, I make up words. And so I said, ooh, jablammied. I like that word. I like it. So then I wrote it down. Totally jablammied. I spelled it J'', BLAMMEE, another apostrophe, D. Jablammied. Totally jablammied. I eventually wrote a song called Totally Jablammied, but that's not part of this show, I'm afraid. We've got too many other things to get to. Don't fret. All right. You know what? I'm a good guy. Go ahead. Fret. No, go ahead. You can fret for a few longer. That's lovely fretting. You do some very lovely fretting. Okay, getting back to the topic at hand. I said to myself, goodness gracious, if every song that I write is while I'm high, therefore jablammied, that must make if I conjugate properly here, if everything I learned from Miss Dubrow in 8th or 9th grade is correct, I'll conjugate totally jablammied to the music I write is jablammo. Jablammo pop music. And one of those early songs that I wrote, here's one that I think still stands up today, and not only am I proud of it as a songwriter, but also the subject matter more than ever. If you follow the news... Okay, well, this is a song I wrote called Media Circus, and I'm going to share first the demo that I made of it. Here's Media Circus, circa 1992. Enjoy.
Man, that's good milk.
All right, Media Circus. I'd like to play you right now what it sounds like today.
Here come the clowns, here come the clowns, here come the clowns. The media circus marches into town. Here come the clowns, here come the clowns, here come the clowns. The media circus marches into town. Bearded ladies with microphones, asking questions in the knowingest of tones. News editors from the gate slide trombones. Yeah. Deadlines to guess your weight. Strong men will brief you, midgets participate. Entertainment done so well, we'll believe what they create. Yeah. Here come the clowns, here come the clowns. The media circus marches into town. Here come the clowns, here come the clowns, here come the clowns. The media circus marches into town. Ow, 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 eyes are focused on a centering so numb. Myths in the middle of a clawing, beaten medium. This show won't infotain if you can't afford ticket fees. If you're willing to join the circus, don't lose your footing on the fake trapeze. Yeah.
Alrighty, Media Circus, my goodness. Now, Marcello, you, my friend, if you're still in the house, may have even played that. We jammed at one point in the early 90s. It was you, me, and Nick Manicoon, if you recall. We went down to some place on Route 10. Goodness gracious, was I completely zooted that night. I remember it. I apologize to you if I haven't before. In any case, it was fun, but I was just no shape to be performing. Oh, goodness gracious. You know what? I think that's a good opportunity to, where is it? Oh, goodness, this whole panel is filled up, but here I found it. Let's see what you wrote. All right, we're back here with you live, and we're going to check out, with the help of my trusty 1.25s, what you're saying. Terry Z, as I mentioned, is here with his lampshade. I hope, Terry, you've found some use for it during the program. Moving along, he says, hey, DM, that must mean DMD is here. Debbie Marie, David, welcome, my friends. Hope you are doing well. It was a pleasure to speak with you, as it was a pleasure to speak with Terry recently. We hadn't spoken in some time either, and catching up with you both made me feel all warm inside. And I was wearing heat tech, to be fair, but okay, let's move along. That's some sort of, mom and dad are watching. They don't know heat tech. Thermals, that's what I'm trying to, mom and dad, thermals, that's what heat tech is, the new fangled. Where did the word fangled come from? Let me know in the comments section below. Let's continue on with what you wrote, because we don't want to digress too far. Oh, look at that, Marcello got here from the help, the Terry Z gave him a virtual boost, if you will, and he came right on in. He didn't even realize, he said, how I got in? Because I don't know, I must have taken a left turn in Albuquerque, and now Marcello is trapped in the maze. That is Dave J. Tuesday. Terry Z says, I beamed you up. LOL. Because the beam up is the... Yeah, okay. Terry Z also adds, meat and potatoes, no greens? Good point, Terry. You know, a well-balanced meal does include a green of some sort. But no worry, I had green Kool-Aid with my meal. Thank you. No. Help him! He's having a seizure! Okay, continuing on with your comments. Marcello says he remembers it well. You remember... Now, let me ask you to articulate more clearly. Do you remember that song well, or do you remember that night that we jammed? We may have jammed more than once, Marcello. You're a great drummer. I always enjoy... in fact, to be perfectly forthright, this is a good opportunity to tell you, March, if I may call you that for short. I felt that you were out of our league. We asked you to play with us because, you know, one of the things I always found in putting a band together, and even before I put a band together when I played with you guys, was it was always difficult to find drummers and bass players. Just the toughest. Probably in that order. It was easier to find a bass player than a drummer, but it was tough to get and keep both. But you were a fantastic drummer. You probably still are. And in any case, let's move along. Oh, goodness gracious. Terry's doing Jeffrey Toobin material. You're doing... Thanks for the word picture. Goodness gracious. He's doing his imitation of Jeffrey Toobin. Come on. We're not working blue. This is only prime time, for God's sakes. All right. JPL is here, and she says, oh, Terry, really? Thank you, JPL. Exactly my sentiments the same there. And replying to Jennifer, Terry won't take that. He says, that's what the lampshade is for. I have to do it. Okay, that was for you, Terry. Hey, Faith Balshan-Ramberg is here. Faith, how are you? Welcome back. I know you've been here periodically from time to time. Oh, Marcello recalls the sessions, he says. Yes, well, that's right. It was someplace out on Route 10, wasn't it, Marcello? It was way out, too. Whippany, maybe? Oh, God. I just wish I didn't. I wish I had taken it all more seriously in terms of the, you know. But on the other hand, like I said, Jablammo Pop comes from that state of mind, and I can't quibble. I've been practicing my songs, including Media Circus and a few others I'm going to share with you shortly. But let's continue on with what you wrote, and then we'll get to that. JPL says, Mr. Fun and Games, Terry Zuckerman. But we should write a little theme song for him.
Mr. Fun and Games, Terry Zuckerman, he's never changed. He's Mr. Fun and Games, Terry Zuckerman. He's got a lampshade.
All right. Faith says, you're out of your kitchen? Is that a way of saying, are you out of your mind? It sounds like a British expression for you're out of your mind. He's bloody out of his kitchen. Oh, I know what you mean. No, what we've done is we've raised the production values, Faith. Instead of having... The kitchen is still over there, and the living room is behind me here with the front door and everything. But what we've done is we've added a backdrop and some lighting, you see? And especially when I go to camera number 2, you can really see the lighting behind me, right? In fact, I haven't even shown you camera number 3. That's like the behind-the-scenes shot. Check this one out. This is what it looks like when I'm looking at you, you see? That's how that is. Okay. Yes, Faith, I'm out of the... he's bloody out of his kitchen. This is the British. We beat them in 1779. Okay. Was it 1781? Terry knows the answer to that question. Let me know in the commenter section below. No, she says no. Faith says no, I haven't been on in a while, and much has changed. Terry says our French teacher called me that. What's that? They called you Mr. Fun and Games. Well, you know, it is apropos. If the shoe fits, right? Or as that old joke we used to tell in elementary school, if the foo shits, wear it. Do you remember that joke? It was a foo bird and it shit on a guy, and the punchline was, if the foo shits, wear. That's back. See, that was comedy back when we were kids. But all right, let's get back to your comments and then back to the show, the rest of the show, that is. Ooh, JPL coming in with the French, and I don't mean toast, but that would be good right about now. I haven't had dinner. We had a very late lunch shooting this film, Trumpocalypse, I've mentioned. Oh, goodness. I've been shooting some behind-the-scenes footage of this Trumpocalypse, and I'm going to share more about it with you in the coming weeks. We're going to be shooting till about the end of November. Pretty much almost every day. So it's a lot of fun. And yesterday we were in Coney Island, out on a boat, an inflatable boat out on the ocean, and zombies were attacking us. And I had a paddle, and I was paddling, and I was hitting the zombies. Oh, it was just oodles of fun. Did I say oodles? We can strike that from the record later on. TZ says the whole coven is here. Because Terry, likes witches, and Halloween is coming. That's what a coven is, right? Or do you have coven? COVID-19. I was going to hit bump, but I just won't even bother. Let's continue on with the Blammo Pop. What do you say? We'll check in on your comments again if we have time before the end of the program. Oh, goodness. Time is afoot. It's getting away from me, as usual. Let's go to the next tune. This one is one that I wrote with a bandmate. You see, in 1996, I went through the Village Voice. That's the local newspaper here in New York. That's where you used to have to go to put bands together. And as I said, it was very difficult to find the drummer and the bass player. So the first person I found was a lead guitarist named Rob Broder. Excuse me. Oh, late lunch, as I said. It was a bacon cheeseburger. Oh, it was so good. I haven't had one of those in gazillions of months. In any case, let's get back to the Blammo Pop. So Rob Broder, he wasn't a songwriter, but he'd come in one day and he said, listen, Dave, I've got this chord progression. And I have a lead to go over it, but I don't know what to do with it. I said, oh, okay, I'll take it home. And I came up with a riff where what I used to do, and as I still do as a songwriter, is I just put my fingers in random places. Yes, I took lessons for 3 years with a brilliant fella who I still speak with named Andy Flavel. That's A-N-D-E apostrophe for you fancy people keeping score at home. And so I would just put my fingers in random places, and I happened to put it here, here, and here. No, here. And I just went. And then I used this chord progression. So why don't I play you what became my reflection of how dingy and dirty New York City was, and politics. I was just starting to the very, very beginning of understanding how dirty politics were. And I was starting to feel like America, in my youth, I started to feel like America was starting to basically fall apart. And so I wrote this song called New National Anthem. It goes like this. This is the country I call my home. All fate's things must crumble. It kind of reminds me of Rome. The flag pulled from under your feet, then pulled over your eyes. It's the same one waving goodbye. I'd like to sing to you our new national anthem, inspired by the view of Miss Liberty in her short teddy out in Gotham. We've still got romantic, melodic, patriotic tunes, and we chant them. I'd like to sing to you our new national anthem. Your vote is a good joke in November, not as funny by May. But don't underestimate the power of the punchline at play. The star-spangled banter, your lips are vibrating till the dawn's early light. I ask you, is that where your freedom's at tonight? I'd like to sing to you our new national anthem, inspired by the view of Miss Liberty in her short teddy out in Gotham. We've still got romantic, melodic, patriotic tunes, and we chant them. I'd like to sing to you our new national anthem.
precipice so deep and wide. Lay a breathe down till it can be revived. Let national pride sing atop all of your hillsides. Solo. Hey, is that where your freedom's at tonight? I'd like to sing to you our new national anthem, inspired by the view of Miss Liberty and her short day out in Gotham. We've still got romantic, melodic, patriotic tunes and we chant them. I'd like to sing to you our new national anthem. Whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa. And now, without further ado, I'd like to share a somewhat, I guess a snippet, no, probably the full thing, the rehearsal tape that we did back in 1997 or so of our band, The Sound of Monday, performing said song, New National Anthem. Here's what it sounded like. Watch out!
That I call my home. All these things must crumble, that it kind of reminds me of Rome. The black pool from under your feet, then pulled over your eyes. The same one waving goodbye. I'd like to sing to you our new national anthem, inspired by the out in Gotham. We still got romantic, melodic, patriotic tunes and we chant them. I'd like to sing to you our new national anthem. Your bullies a good joke in November, not as funny by May. But don't underestimate the power of the punchline of play. That star-spangled banter, your lips are vibrating to the dawn's early light. I ask you, is that where your freedom's at tonight? I'd like to see you, I knew, national anthem, inspired by the view of Miss Liberty in the sunsetty out in Gotham. We still got romantic, melodic, patriotic tunes and we chant them. I'd like to sing to you, I know, national anthem. National pride, all the way to cry underneath. you're feeling inside tonight. I'd like to sing to you. I know national anthem inspired by the view of its liberty in the Sunday hour. We got them. We still got romantic, melodic, patriotic tunes that we jam to. I'd like to sing to you. I know national anthem.
All right. Listen to him in hi-fi, why don't you? Oh, I am very excited to listen to the old days back in the old rehearsal room. We rehearsed, believe it or not, in a Manhattan mini storage here in Manhattan. It goes to figure, right? Because they don't have many Manhattan mini storages in Tuscaloosa, do they? No. Or Cucamonga, as the comedians like to use in the old days. Okay, well, TZ, I'm going to add a few more comments. I see Linda Rish Noker, not with an L. I used to say Nokler by the last time I said Nokler. I'm sorry about that, Linda. It was a typo of my brain, so to speak. And but it is Noker. Yes, sir, it's Noker. And she and Terry are going back and forth with their normal diatribe, so we'll leave them to it while I share yet another Jablammo pop tune. When it comes to songs that I've written, and I've written literally thousands, and I know people say literally and they actually mean figuratively. Doesn't that drive you nuts? I can't effing stand when people, and sometimes I'm guilty of it, but in this case I literally mean literally. I've written thousands of songs since I'm 9 years old, and this, I know it's hard to choose a favorite, but this is a favorite song I wrote, and I've shared it on the show before, but because we're playing some Jablammo pop, I figured I would sort of top this Jablammo pop segment with my favorite of the ones I've written. And it was a quick little story. Again, in the early 90s, I broke a string on my guitar. This string, it was an E string, sounded like this. Before it broke, it sounded like this. For those of you with an ear, that note. And then the string broke. I said, oh goodness, I've got to put a new string on. So I went and put a new string on, but I hadn't fully tuned it up so that it was really just here at C sharp. And I put the guitar down and I went and I got high. Okay, well then I come back to the guitar, totally forgetting that I'd broken a string, and I pick it up, and it just happens to be tuned like this, and I made an open E chord, which is, there you go, which is a very common chord, and I just went, what is that? That sounds beautiful! Oh my God! Where normally an E chord would sound like this, folks. That's getting a little out of tune with all the throwing guitars over one another, but here you are. So I came up with that. So, oh my God, I've got to find other chords in this tuning. Well, that's just what I did, and I set out and I wrote a song called Alive. Then Pearl Jam comes out with a song called Alive, becomes a big hit. I'm like, my Alive is better than that, and I'll stand by that. Screw those guys. In any case, this is my Alive. No matter what you think, I'm proud of it. Here it is. I'm going to start again, and I'm going to tip this down just a bit. I'd like you to see what I'm playing. Here we go. Live, folks. That's the way it goes. Let's also make sure we're in tune, because this song has to be in tune to work. Here we go. We'll fix it in post. Don't you worry.
recognize me. I can't wear those disguises for you. I'm alive and living well. If you knew I was alive, I'd be feeling better still. I'm alive. I'm alive. Caught me in a half-damaged traffic jam. My body and mind collided on you. You look to me till you look limit, and I like you till my like quota is all through. You can't recognize me. I can't wear those disguises for you. Alive and living well. Well, if you knew I was alive, I'd be feeling better still. 'Cause I'm alive. I'm alive. Brought me on a swerve to the access plan, to my geometry code I'd never known of. You bought me saving your bag and receipt. You knew the cutest of fools could be hunted alive. Recognize me, I won't wear those disguises for you. I'm alive, living well. Well, if you knew I was alive, I'd be feeling better still. If I think too much about her, I can't freeze my mind that way. I'm alive. Look at what you've done, girl. I'm alive. Can't you see, I'm alive. Like Frankenstein, a child, I'm alive. Not an easy one to play, but I love playing it, and and Terry doesn't need applause, and hey, neither do I. But I'm glad you're here because I'm about to play you the demo that I made for Alive. Check this out. Recognize me. I can't wear those disguises for you. I'm alive and living well. Well, if you knew I was alive, I'd be feeling better still. I'm alive. I'm alive. Caught me in a nerve-damaged traffic jam. My body and mind collided on cue. You look to me till the look limit, and I like you till my like quota is all through. eyes me. I can't wear those disguises for you. I'm alive and living well. But if you knew I was alive, I'd be feeling better still. 'Cause I'm alive. I'm alive. Bought me on a swerve to the access plan. Denied some entry code I've never known of. You bought me saving your bag and receipt. You knew the cutest of fools could be hard to You refused to recognize me. I won't wear those disguises for you. I'm alive and living well. Well, if you knew I was alive, I'd be feeling better still. Whoa, 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 whoa. If I think too much about her, I can freeze my mind that way. I'm alive. Look at what you've done, girl. I'm alive. Can you see? Can you see? I'm alive. That Frankenstein child. I'm alive. Alive.
And there you have it. Let's tip this back up so you get a little more headroom. That's what we call it in the biz. Okay, folks, I want to thank you so much for coming aboard Dave J. Tuesday once again. It's our 7th program on Tuesday night. Can you believe it? 7 in a row. That's right, lucky 7, or the 7th inning itch. I'm not sure which one you want to call it. 7th year itch? 7-year itch, that's what it is. Except it hasn't been 7 years, it's been 7 shows. But we can equate the itch any which way we'd like. In any case, Terry, Faith, JPL, as I like to call you, Jen Pilecchio Lakowiak, which is also a fun thing to say. Linda Rishnoker, I said. Faith, I said. Marcello, if you're still there. Wow, Marcello. Hey, Marcello, I really enjoyed seeing you at that reunion, that 30th reunion. Marcello and I go way back. We even worked on a project together in 9th grade, a film project in the film and video class. Mrs. Reynolds, I think, taught it. Remember that? I have a copy of that, you know. If I haven't shared it with you, I will. But in any case, let's bring the show in for a landing. After all, it's been a long week so far, what with the shooting, the Trumpocalypse, the film I'm taking part in and preparing for the show, and all of my other household responsibilities. I'm sure you folks can relate to that. Let's wrap it up as we've been doing on a song that hopefully will bring us all together in these kooky, crazy times, all with K's, mind you. Why can't we be one community? Why can't we be one community? Why we always breaking and free? Why can't we be one community? I'm talking about you and me. Put down your dukes and pick up the pieces of your life. Put down the nukes and the guns, proton missile bullet knife. Why can't we be one community? Why we always breaking and free? Why can't we be one community? I'm talking about you and me.
the truth, there's harm in beatings round the bush. Don't turn me to sleuth, cause I detect bullshit when chaff comes to push. Oh, why can't we be one community? Why we always breaking in three? I said, why can't we be one community? Why we always breaking in three? Hey, 'cause anyone is someone when there's someone there to need you. You're the one who freed you all the while. Oh, why can't we be one community? Why can't we be one community? Why can't we be one community? One community. Hey, hey, hey. Whew! Goodness gracious, it's been a fun-packed hour. And goodness gracious, I feel like I'm just getting started. Adam Slavitt, welcome to the proceedings. No matter when you come, it's always a pleasure. He says, hey, bud, and hey, bud, back at you. JPL points out that Mrs. Reynolds, that she was in that class too. Yes. And what was your video project, film project? You remember at the end we did actual film. I believe it was Super 8 film, and it was super, even if it was 8. But you know, do you remember what your project was? I remember Claudia Marshall did an animation of her eating a Hershey bar. But it was just rolling the camera, and it was supposed to be animation. And Marcello and I did a sports thing. It was like claymation, kind of basketball, baseball, hockey, all the things. I'll have to share that on a future show. And JPL, well, actually, didn't I send you yours? I forgot what it was. It was also a sports thing, I feel like. You also did a sports thing, am I right? Before we sign off, let me know if you remember that, JPL. Marcello says he'd love to see it, and so that I will find that for you, buddy. It's on, I've got a gaggle of hard drives over here. You guys use Google. I've got a gaggle. Forget about it. Gaggle is much bigger than Google, as far as I'm concerned. And I don't censor the news. So, all right. On that note, I'm bringing the show in for a final landing. Check your seats for whatever you're supposed to check them for, and make sure your seatbelts are fastened, because we are bringing the show in for a landing. And with that, I like to bring you the closing credits of the program, as I like to do. It's a nice way to bring it in and make it succinct. Tie it up with a little bow, if you will. I had a little that was that Martin Short character, Jiminy Glick, bow. I said a little like Jiminy Glick. My dad says that every character or impression that I do sounds like Jim Ignatowski. As you recall, I used to do him on the morning announcements, so I'll do that before I go. I just can't sign off, damn it. I'm too excited. We've got to sign off the show. Hokey doke. Okay, and then in case Faith points out that she had Reynolds to have, and she has no memory. Well, Mrs. Reynolds was also an art teacher, so she generally taught art. A lot of people had her or Mr. DeMeo, that tall, sort of semi-creepy fellow with the Jordache jeans and the bags under his eyes. Do you remember him? He was a nice man, don't get me wrong, but I'm making fun of him, because that's what I do. JPL says, of course you don't. Of course you don't remember it? Or of course you don't... Did I say something of course I don't? Because I don't. I don't remember a damn thing, except all the stuff I share with you and embellish along the way. Okay, that is all we have. I have to spend time with my wife before it's Betty Bye time. We're early risers. So on that, I was going to make a Paul Reiser joke, but it really didn't. Somebody just told me that the pun is the lowest form of comedy, and I say to him, you've never heard of props. So on that note, Debbie Marie, DMD, I want to thank you. Earlier on in the comments, I noticed you thanked me. You said you you didn't thank me. I'm thanking you. Hey, who's thanking who here? You said, hey, you really dug that tune, or you liked the tune that I shared, one of the BLAMMO pop ones, and you, DMD, have been one of the biggest supporters of my songs, and it's never lost on me. So thank you for that. And Terry Z has also been one, and Beetle Mike, who will be watching tomorrow morning. Sorry, Mom. I know that's ill-mannered, but I'm on the air. I'm having fun. Come on, live it up a little. JPL says, super creepy, DeMeo. Yes.
God. Between the bags and the Jordache jeans, and he had sort of a lilt. Is that the politically correct? I don't want to be politically correct, but I'm trying to keep the show light, if you know what I mean. Not in the loafers, but light, fun. That's what I'm trying to say. We're living in such damaging times. Isn't that? Ooh, I just came up with that. I kind of like that. Expression of the day. We're living in damaging times. Yes. Okay. On that note, I thank you all so very much for just really keeping me up on cloud gazillion today, because it was a long day I had from the morning through the evening, and then came here quickly prepared for the show, and here we are, and it's time for me to go. Good night, sweetheart. It's ding 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 ding, the piano sleeve. Remember that on the Shanana? Or if you're Jewish, it's Rosh Hashanah. Ba-dum-bum. Okay, here are the closing credits. Thank you so much. I'm grateful for your participation. And I'll be back next Tuesday. Don't you fret. All right, what the hell. Fret all you'd like till then. I'll see you. Good night.